Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 23rd session of under the Storage and Handling Knowledge series. We've been doing this initiative of sharing knowledge under this platform over the last 2 years now. And we are very grateful and humbled by the participation that we have got from all the participants so far. And we are very happy to note that even today, when everything is back to offline, people are going to offices and people are working offline, we still are seeing a lot of engagement for this particular platform, which is very, very heartening to see. As you know that this platform has been created purely to share knowledge, which we and industry colleagues have gathered over multiple decades of operating in the intralogistics space. And the whole endeavor is to make people aware of the nuances which will help us to work better, be more productive, be more efficient, and in the process help the country's economy in moving ahead and try to optimize the logistic cost that we have been having in our country because of many inefficiencies that they have been existing in the system. So it's just a motive to help the industry by way of sharing pure knowledge that we have got over all these years. Now, as you are aware that under this platform, we have covered various general topics like different types of material handling equipment, different types of racking systems, what are the safety mechanisms that we need to have, what are the various maintenance practices, what are the different types of handling practices. And we have been very fortunate to get very eminent personalities of the industry to talk about the various nuances of the warehouse design, the warehouse box structure, the batteries and chargers, the controllers. So basically, this has become a very, very thriving platform for the entire industry to come, participate, listen, like contribute to that extent. And then when the recordings are shared, that becomes a repository of that knowledge that keeps building over a period of time. And at some point in time, the entire repository may become an academic course in itself in the intralogistics space. So we are very happy to start this initiative and continue with this with participation and cooperation of all the participants who have been part of this initiative right from the beginning and have been joining this tribe month after month. So today we are very happy to talk about something which is an over-encompassing topic and something which is very, very contemporary in today's time. We are talking about the role of efficient intralogistics in managing booming e-commerce transactions in India. Now, we all are consumers of e-commerce, all of us. I can't imagine anybody who would not be doing any single transaction on e-commerce. I think e-commerce has touched each and everybody's life, whether it is tier 1, 2, 3, and 4 cities, and these companies have reached every nook and corner of the country. So I'm sure that each of us know the type of experience that we have got from e-commerce companies, the type of changing expectations that we have evolved over a period of time. And and e-commerce companies have continuously been reinventing themselves in bettering our experiences. Like today, as we speak today, we are talking about even 10-minute, 20 minutes deliveries. And this is all something which is putting a lot of pressure and a lot of challenge to the e-commerce companies. But having said that, it is hats off to these companies who are able to manage these challenges day in, day out and up their scale with every new initiative. So while we have spoken about the various facets which go inside a plant or a warehouse, we thought it would be very, very contemporary for us to talk about how these things all come together and become a part of managing these booming e-commerce transactions, which makes sure that the product, howsoever small or howsoever big, and whatever be the volume, is reaching the right person at the right time, and is meeting all the supply chain expectations which are en route, connecting right from the factory to the end user. And it's our absolute privilege to have a very, very eminent speaker. And we could not have thought of a better person, and we are really humbled and very happy that Mr. Hemaraju, he sort of he agreed to be a part of this particular event. So, so he agreed to be a part of this event. And just to talk about his very, very rich credentials, Mr. Hemaraju is a material flow engineering professional with over 33 years of extensive experience in designing execution of ultra modern warehouses, automation, logistic engineering, services design, project planning, and project management. Mr. Hemaraju has delivered several warehousing projects from concept to commissioning across many geographies for various industries. Currently, he is leading the facility design, industrial engineering, automation, and packaging design at Udaan, a leading B2B e-commerce player in India. So, thank you so much, Mr. Hemaraju, for agreeing to be a part of this platform and sharing your invaluable knowledge on a very, very contemporary topic today. Before I hand over the stage to Mr. Hemaraju, a few very basic house rules. Request all the participants to please share their queries, knowledge, suggestions, and comments on the chat box, which we'll be taking up at the end of the talk by Mr. Hemaraju, and we'll be requesting him to respond to the queries that have been put across. And another request, when you are please putting your queries, please share your identity with your name and company name, which will help us to get back to you just in case we are not able to take your question during the event due to paucity of time. With that, I will request Mr. Hemaraju to please enlighten us with his thoughts on the topic of today, which is role of efficient intralogistics in managing booming e-commerce transactions in India. Mr. Hemaraju, all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek. I think thank you for the nice words, and also thank you for the opportunity, to share whatever little knowledge I have with a supply chain fraternity. I'm quite excited to at least whatever. I think it'd be a mutual learning, from both sides. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Actually, I'm here to talk about a few things. Though it is about intralogistics. Interlogistics is not a new phenomena, right? It is not a new activity. It is always there in the industry. It was there always. But in the context of e-commerce, there has it has to be little realigned and modified. That's where I'm going to give some background of e-commerce, and because of e-commerce, what are the changes required in adopting technologies to make supply chain more efficient. That's where intralogistics plays into picture. Of course, there are there are external influences like regulatory, and country specific, the norms, which I'm not going to talk about. What today we are going to talk about is within the warehouse four walls of the within that four walls and just around the four walls. That's what we are going to talk about. Just to give an idea of what are the influencing factors of e-commerce. As you see some of the factors here, globalization, which is started happening since 1991 now. Now the products and technology and services have gone borderless. You can get a product from any country you want and at your wish. That's globalization. Has given us a opportunity. The next factor which influences this thing is e-commerce is urbanization. Further I'm going to talk about urbanization in the next slide. Yeah, the rapid urbanization is happening across the world, not only in India. The rural population is moving to cities for their better livelihood, and so on and so forth, which I'll talk further on the next slide. And the digitization, I think I'm very happy to talk about digitization because last 2 years everybody thought our business cannot be digitized, my things cannot be digitized, yeah, and we are safe. There is no threat. That is the illusion people lived. The industry also, a few industries had lived, but the natural phenomena, whatever happened, the COVID, last 2 years, everybody has realized that whatever they thought, everything has gone haywire, and everything can be digitized. Whatever we thought, you just name an industry, name a service which cannot be digitized. It has proved wrong because of the COVID. Last 2 years, most of the things, right? Everything, in fact, has become, it is moving towards digitization. The two, especially in India, digitization has helped even government in many ways. Because of digitization, our payment, actually in any commerce, the payment gateway was the big bottleneck. That was really addressed very well just in time before the COVID. Government of India said, this UPI payments. They enabled UPI payments to, the RBI also approved that. And because of the UPI payments, everything became, the digital mode became much more enabled, and it went to everybody actually. To just give you an example, you must have seen even the cobbler, the tender coconut seller, everybody uses digital payments, right? That itself is an enabler for e-commerce. In fact, those guys are doing a small part of e-commerce itself, because there is no more cash handling, soil note handling, cut note handling, fake currency handling. Everything has become seamless. Even for the industries, it's the same thing, right? And I think it's according to the statistics which was published last month. In April month alone, there is about 5.5 billion transactions, digital transactions happened in India. That is a massive growth. And also in the financial year, last financial year, they said that digital transaction is amounted to $1 trillion. It's a huge, right? Though we adopted digitization, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, the amount of growth and possibilities, what it has addressed is enormous. Now the stores are becoming digitized. Now I think this is only started now. Henceforth, I think you will see every kirana shop is going digitized. They will run their own e-commerce. The services from business, wherever they are doing it. That is the kind of a technology we are going to see. Everything has become online. The grocery, which is essential, right? Which is a part of in a day-to-day life, which was very much essential during our COVID also. That services never stopped. Everyone was ordering online. Everyone was getting the delivery. That's where the e-commerce came into picture. And the government also, enabled these players so that the restrictions are removed for these players, right? Like that, there are many, factors which are influencing the e-commerce. The climatic changes, which is also one of the biggest factors which is going to affect, e-commerce. The next one is the demographic change. The population, like for example, people going to different countries, different age group people, different education, different earning. Those requirements are different. There, for example, if I have to talk about our generation, we always wanted to eat fresh. Anything we wanted to eat fresh. Today, that's not the scenario. Today, younger generation, they don't mind cold. They include in the cold coffee, which we never heard in our past, right? That's where all these changes are going to definitely influence e-commerce, right? Even in wellness has become such a big industry now. Everything is online. Even during COVID, everybody thought, for example, yoga can't be taught, but there are so many yoga classes and meditation classes during COVID. Everything was to a digital form, right? Another thing, which is the main thing, which is India is going to see the benefit is the internet connection and smartphone penetration. If you look at the data from the table, you can see 700 million people, that is 70 crore people, are using wireless data. That means wireless data means it is the smartphones, because it's a data-enabled mobiles. 70 crore people, but out of 140 crore, that means 50%. If you see the right side chart, the penetration is, it is still not even 50%. That means there is the usage is going to double in the coming years, right? Yeah, which I just take a cue from the previous slide, which I spoke about urbanization. If you look at the rural population, of various countries, India's present rural population is about 65% of the people live in rural areas. Compared to other countries, for example, the forward countries, developed countries like US, UK, Brazil, and Japan, if you see, they are between 8 to 15%, whereas India is at 65%. There's already the change is already happening. That is in the form of urbanization. Rural people are moving towards the cities, which you can see from the right side. This chart, it talks about 15 million. There are 3 cities in India, which are having more than 15 million people. That's Delhi, Mumbai, and Calcutta, right? That means the urbanization is just evolving. It is in that phase. It is said that in next 20 to 5 years, right, the urbanization is going to hit the developed countries like 20%. That means there's a 40 to 45% people are going to move from rural area to urban area. Yeah, that means there's so much of opportunity. One is for the commerce, there's a lot of opportunity. The people for their livelihood and their buying habits will also change. It is already changing, right? Which you can see from the bottom slide. If you see the Indian retail market, out of 100% retail market, there are more unorganized players in the retail market now. The next slide, I'll show you what is the size of the market. But I just want to draw a message here. The e-commerce and modern trade constitutes only 10% in 2020. 10% of the volume of businesses gone through e-commerce and modern trade. That means 90% is still with unorganized retail, like kirana stores and unorganized players. That will never become zero, definitely. The kirana stores are going to coexist in the system. That's where e-commerce is going to enable these people also, so that they concentrate on their business more than running around procuring what they need to sell, right? Yeah. If you talk about the market size, the retail market of India, currently it is at $850 billion, which is also growing at 8% at CAGR. Year on year, it's growing at 8%. In next 10 years, it's expected to hit 1.8 trillion, that is $1,800 billion. It is almost like it's going to double, right? It is that's the kind of a growth is going to happen in next 10 years. If you look at the current market share of modern trade and e-commerce players as of now, it is around 110 to 120 billion dollar. That is actually it is just about 12 to 13% compared to the total size of the market, which is also going to grow. E-commerce is expected to grow at 20% per year, at CAGR of 20%. In next 10 years, today's 110 will become $650 billion. That means 6 times higher. 6 times higher. Whereas the market increases twice, when 850 will become 1,800 billion. Whereas the market share of e-commerce will increase 6-fold in next 10 years. That is the kind of a growth which India is going to see. When you say e-commerce, we are also talking about 2 different types of business what exists in India. It is wholesale. It is called business to business. It is B2B, and there is also B2C. Because B2C is much more popular because it touches the end users. The biggest players. You have seen Amazon, Flipkart, and Meesho, kind of a guys who are directly catering to the end users, right? Though FDI is not, 100% FDI is not allowed in e-commerce. There are the businesses, happening through marketplace for everybody. But there are various reasons why B2B and B2C are going to coexist, because our demographic changes, and also the business itself, the way India conducts business. So both are going to coexist, and even the Kirana stores and the neighborhood stores, though their share of business will come down, but I would say they're going to coexist. Yeah. Yeah, when it comes to e-commerce supply chain, e-commerce, I personally have about at least 13 years of exposure into e-commerce. If I had to talk about supply chain in e-commerce, it is much more complex. It is very, very complex. Why it is so complex? See, the e-commerce is all about speed, selection, and cost. I think everything revolves around speed, type of selection you have, where it is, and also the cost, least cost, right? If you look at the industry, how earlier industry was, supply chain was, the business was happening across the industry. It's a traditional method, actually. CFAs, distributors, and wholesalers, stockists existed, and all this supply chain was happening industry-wide. FMCG has their own, mother distribution centers. From there, it goes to go to regional distribution centers, and similarly, personal care, fashion, cosmetics, chemical, all these industries, they had their own supply chain network and their own warehouses, right? It is like, I just want to give a comparison to a circus. In a circus, if you see the ringmasters used to manage all animals, wild animals, because they have tamed and trained animals, because they were caged individually, right? Now that changed, the caged animals are easy to handle. Now the industry is moving towards integrated supply chain, because e-commerce players are going to sell all of them. Whatever you see on the left side, everything is sold from one single source, one single location called fulfillment centers. That means all these cage animals, if you remove the cage, just imagine what happens, right? That is the scenario. In the right side, if you see, you need to treat, since it is getting merged, everything in one box. Now it has become a big cage instead of small cages for individual animals. Now one big cage for all the animals. Now the ringmaster's job is much more difficult now, because each animal has a different affinity, different habits, and it has to be treated safely also. And the same problem with e-commerce fulfillment centers, because you need to have a facility or equipment or a storage area and handling. There are some they have to adhere to regulations, as well as they need to adhere to the attributions of the product itself. Some of them are heavy, some of them are light, small, large, bulky ones, awkward ones. Some of them are conveyable, some of them are non-conveyable. Earlier, in the earlier scenario, they would have handled it separately. For example, paint industry, paint, they would have handled their product differently. Now, since this warehouse is going to receive material from all types of manufacturers, it is much more complex. There are, again, there are flammables, there are aerosols like the body sprays and perfumes and whatnot, pharmaceutical. There are corrosive product. There are sensitive, temperature sensitive product. There are edible, non-edible. There is a fragile product. Everything in one warehouse, and that's where one type doesn't suit the e-commerce player. One type of interlogistics doesn't suit. You need to have a different type of handling and storage solutions for e-commerce. That's where e-commerce supply chain is one of the most complex supply chain. Interlogistics is though it is said the activities fall, whatever falls well within that warehouse is a part of interlogistics. There are some factors which also influence the efficiency of interlogistics. Some of them are very, very important. They are the base, like they are the foundation. For example, warehouse itself, the infrastructure of the warehouse. For example, aspect ratio of the building. The best, the warehouse aspect ratio, length to width ratio. Squarish could be a better one, right? Or rectangular sections are better. But if the size increases, now most of the players, e-commerce players, you see, from current 500,000 square feet, 500,000 square feet facility, they'll move. Ultimately, they will settle down at 1 million square feet facilities in future. That's the kind of facilities they're going to have. Imagine 10 lakh square feet of warehouse, and if the aspect ratio is, it is not adequately designed, then the what you call as footprint inside the material coming in, getting stored, and moving out, that will increase. Plus, there are also regulatory things, which will make much more complicated. If the width of the building increases, then the fire protection norms come into very stringent fire protection norms. We may have to have tunnels inside the warehouse because the width is going beyond 140 meters or 150 meters, right? That also affects your efficiency of internal logistics. Then the apron space. Why apron space is important? It is best example is like express highway versus a regular highway. The similar, the effect is also if you don't have if you don't have a good apron space. For example, 40-foot trailer requires about 23.5 meters of apron space for maneuverability. Once the truck hits the facility, they have to dock in the reverse direction. He has to come and dock. If you don't have an adequate space, that person, the driver, takes more time. More time means he is occupying the space. That resource is occupied for a longer time. That means it's inefficient. That's the reason we should have minimum apron space for the for a bigger truck. It's a 40-foot trailer will have 57 feet. For 57 feet, it is 23.5 meters is what required. About 80 feet is what you would need. And also the next one is also the plinth. Plinth is very, very important in a warehouse. If you an average truck height is around 1,200 mm body height as a truck, but there are trailers which are 1,350 to 1,400 and 1,450. There are small trucks because outbound happens in small trucks. Tata Ace to Bolero to smaller vehicles, right? They start with their body height is much lower. It is about 690 to 900. How do you if you don't have an adequate facility to match this the plinth differential plinth, then it also affects the throughput of the warehouse. Like the column spacings, what should the column spacing internally? Because ideally, if you ask me, I don't want to have any columns inside the warehouse, however small, however big warehouse. Is it really practical? No, it is not practical. So we need to have columns, but we need to optimize the column spacing so that your material flow inside is goes without any hindrances, right? That's where the column spacing comes into picture. And there are technologies and there is solutions available where industry has evolved. A jack beam, by adding a jack beam, 1 or 2 columns can be eliminated, alternative columns can be eliminated. Then the flooring is a very important thing. When a warehouse gets constructed, earlier we had much more column because the warehousing, we did not have any organized players in the warehousing field. We have to struggle to make them understand what is flooring, how it has to be casted. Everybody thought they are experts in a building, but warehouse flooring is a very specialized work, very specialized work. They need to hire specialists. Otherwise, it is a perennial problem because warehouses are built. The life of the warehouse, well-built warehouse, is around 50 years. If you don't make the flooring that from the day one, then the problems are perennial throughout the life of 50 years. You'll continue to get year after year, repair, maintain. So that needs to be taken care at the type of construction itself. Then the insulation. India is at different temperature zones. If you see north to south, our temperatures vary a lot. That's where type of insulation also matters. Some players also do air conditioning. It is 27-degree temperature control warehouses. They demand. In such cases, the type of insulation also change. Otherwise, generally, unless a product demands insulation, industry as an industry practice, they don't need a bigger insulation because nobody does air conditioning. It's only a small, it depends on the the type of developer or also the industry. It's A category, A plus category, and there are various solutions available. And the roof is also as important as the flooring. Roof and floor, they are there for the complete product life cycle of the warehouse, about 50 years. If you don't get the roof properly built from the day one, then it's again the same perennial problem of leakage and maintenance. And ventilation is another thing which, because we are not doing air conditioning, ventilation, there's a regulation also. Minimum warehouses should have 6 to 8 air changes per hour. That's the kind of ventilation you need to ensure how the fresh air enters and how does the hot air escape. That has to be designed properly. And lighting, lighting is also very important. Type of light, and also the lux level of the lighting is important for the readability of the barcode and and also the attributes of the product. And also there are building the pre-engineered builders or the steel metal building constructors. They use bracings and struts. They are very important for the stability of the building, but if they are in the wrong place, then material flow becomes a big problem, right? Next is, once the building is ready, how do you plan your material flow inside? That's very important, because the material flow depends on the width of the building, and I spoke about length to width ratio, and also squarish layouts, squarish the buildings. The very well engineered, industrial engineered layout should have a good material flow. That means either it could be I flow, material will come from one side and leaves from other side. It could be U flow, it could be H flow, it could be M flow, and also there are inverted W flow. This is the many some of the techniques which, depending on the width and depth of the building and type of goods we are going to store, we adopt in the industry. And again, this material flow is also designed. Internal design is based on fast, slow, and non-mover, heavy, light. There are many categories which I have said here. Everything is important because it is in we are talking about an e-commerce warehouse, e-commerce fulfillment. Because I already told you that is much more complex. We need to address all these facts while designing the material flow inside a warehouse. And the last but not the least is actually order management system. That's some information flow is also equally important, because material flow and information flow should go together. How the orders get orchestrated and where does it fall, whichever warehouse, that becomes when you order through your app, the e-commerce website, it has to select the least cost and the fastest, depending on the type of order. It could be prime or it could be express order. It could be same day delivery or next day delivery. Based on that, the order should fall onto the into one of the warehouse which can service that kind of a service lead time. And WMS in turn passes on that the work control instructions to WCS, work control system, and it should have adequate features. This is the factors which also affect interlogistics. Yeah, a few ideas of why do we mechanize? Why do we automate? Actually, India is a people surplus country. That's what we think. The reason for mechanization is not only the people, availability of people. There are many things which are I just listed off some of them here. We need to minimize manual tasks. We need to eliminate repetitive tasks can be automated, because repetitive tasks are monotonous. People get bored of doing the same work again and again. And we need to reduce the dependency on workforce. There could be absenteeism. There could be many other industrial problems. So we need to minimize it, at least. We need to reduce it. Human fatigue, because the consistency of throughput is what is also going to affect the interlogistics, right? So efficiency of interlogistics. When we mechanize, it increases the efficiency. Yeah, the mechanization also will eliminate errors. It enhances the productivity. It is much more accurate than human beings, and it can give you consistently the same quality. It reduces the labor costs. It is scalable and it is reliable. Of course, it also helps us to achieve higher throughput to square foot ratio. For the same area, you can give more throughput. That means it's a cubitization. Inside a warehouse, every cubic feet it comes at a cost. We need to optimize that real estate. Yeah, when it comes to inbound handling, these are the terms which are really want to understand. What is available to promise? This is very relevant to e-commerce. This is very, very important, because there is if the product is available at the right time, then its ability to sell also revenue realization plus ability to service your customer increases. What all are important in assessing available to promise? How do you ensure your ATP is very high? These are the factors. For example, dock planning. When you plan your docks, it has to be the truck turnaround time is very, very important. The faster trucks are unloaded and they're released, then resources, that is the dock is also a resource, that utilization will go up, right? And how do you ensure that? There are different methods. You get to know in advance shipment notice and dock scheduling. You schedule a truck, what time it has to come, and adhere to the schedule. That also enhances the interlogistics. Dock efficiency, which I spoke about different plinths, 690 to 1450. How do you match that? And if they're not matched, then it reduces the efficiency of the of the supply chain itself. Palletized load. I wanted to emphasize here the palletized movement in India is not so picked up, though it is almost like 25 years people have been trying. Palletized movement even within the factory to their their warehouses, their dedicated warehouses. There it's very minimal level it's happening, but it is still it is not happening the way industry could have developed. But in e-commerce space, the palletized movement, there is very less chances. For very few products, there's an opportunity to palletize it, right? Because you are getting product from everybody and different quantity, because you are not moving the full bulk order here. There is a defined lead time you need to maintain, defined stock you need to maintain. Yeah. And how do you ensure the finished ground level to finished floor level? That's a plinth height which you spoke about. There are many tools which there are many equipment. That could be dock leveler, the edge of dock leveler, there are equipment, then telescopic conveyors, then extendable belt conveyors. There are different solutions which will definitely enhance the dock efficiency. I spoke about ATP, available to promise. How do you maximize that? Is the right side which I'm talking about, receiving process, pre-receiving. Pre-receiving is one of the process where what is coming into your warehouse. You already pre-received them in the warehouse. When the dock hits the truck hits the dock, that means the product is already available for sale. It is because it is surely you can fulfill that order. That means that your warehouse management system or OMS system is aware that, okay, this product is available, it has already hit the door, I can sell it from that time itself. That means otherwise it has to wait till it gets binned. Once the product gets binned, only then it is available for sale. Earlier case. Now they're advancing. Now they can, with the moment it hits the warehouse, and they can from the receiving area they can cross-dock it and they send it to directly to the packaging and outbound area. Those are the different technologies and different solutions available, so that you are maximizing your revenue. And the next one is, once you receive it, you need to store them. I would say the storage is a very it's a lot of physics involved in it. There is a lot of science involved in it, and I put in a caption saying a place for everything and everything in its place. Unless you maintain this, you will not be able to retrieve the product the way you want to retrieve it. Yeah, it also depends on how are you going to store it. Are you going to store eaches, boxes, totes, or pallets? They're all called load units. E-commerce is all about receiving in bulk, selling in eaches. For example, B2C, they receive in bulk, they sell in eaches. Whereas wholesale, B2B, receives in bulk, almost sells also in bulk, but still it's a break bulk is required, because we are still not evolved to send the complete cases. That's still evolving, but still it is partially like a B2C. It also works like a B2C. And storage could be multi-level. It's a ground level, multi-level, or multi-deep also. What is important is also the dock to stock time. That's what I spoke about in the previous slide. It is available to promise. How you can ensure the product is available? Right. Yeah, that is very important, so that you can maximize your revenue and also service your customer. There are many tools, many equipments available from docking the moment you receive the product to the storage area. How do you move? It could be hand pallet trucks, it could be BOPTs, reach trucks, articulator forklifts, VNAs, conveyors, inclined and declined conveyors, power spirals, cargo lifts, and the robots also. Yeah. And picking, next activity is picking and packing. Once the order falls into that warehouse, Pick, pack, dispatch. It's called actually P to D. It is pick to dispatch. Time is around, usually it's measured as 45 minutes. Most of the e-commerce minutes, they would have already picked and packed that product, and it's already ready for dispatch. Picking, there are many solutions. How you are going to pick? You can use the shopping trolley kind of a thing, or the pick to light, goods to person. It is within goods to person. There are many technologies again. It could be SRS, it could be robots, and pick to belt. You can have a conveyor belt, and you can pick to the belt, and robo picking is also possible. And also packing. Packing is a different kind of a packing depending on the product and product features. We need to. There are various type of packaging. Usually industry has adopted, and even for the highest in high value items, there is a tamper-proof IDs. Bags are also available. That's very, very popular. Outbound, if you talk about, once it is picked, packed, it has to reach the destination. Yeah, there are different technologies available. Sortation for B2C could be unit sorter. For B2B, it could be a different type, because B2B order sizes are bigger. They are not unit orders. It could be a different solution we may have to use. And there are some of the products also can go as a returnable tote. Yeah, if you have a tote, then you need to have a tote sortation system also. And similarly, if you are bagging it, you need to have a baggaging sortation system. Once it gets sorted, and then it has to be pushed to the route. I think it's called route planning in supply chain terminology. And tote buffering, you can buffer your totes, and whenever the truck comes, you can route-wise, you can continue to load. You can use conveyors for truck loading. And there are, if it is a same city or a different city in intercity, then you need to use the different kind of trucks. It could be same-day delivery, or it could be next-day delivery, or it could be express delivery, depending on the type of delivery what you have planned. Accordingly, you have to treat them all along the supply chain. For example, if it's an express delivery, they use a different kind of a tape. By looking at it, you know that this parcel has to go faster. That means it gets treated separately along the supply chain. And e-commerce, if you see, e-commerce, the returns handling is the biggest problem in e-commerce. Earlier, this kind of returns was existing only in apparel industry, fashion industry, because they go by the seasons, and seasonal sale. You must have heard popular end of season sales in among apparel guys. The returns used to be very high. That's where they used to carry forward the returns for the next season. That is, so it could be 6 months down the line or 9 months down the line. That was existing in that industry. Whereas ever since e-commerce has come into place, returns has become a big problem for all e-commerce players, because returns is a cost to everybody. It has gone up as high as 20 to 25% in some of the players in the market, because it's a big cost. Either you need to reinventarize it, or you land up salvaging or scrapping it. That's a big cost. And there are various technologies available. How do you handle them? How do you treat them? And how do you reinventarize them? There are various technologies available among various solution providers. Just to summarize, yeah, how Interlogistics is going to help e-commerce industry. I spoke about e-commerce. E-commerce is all about speed, cost, and selection. The speed you can achieve only if you have a solution which is scalable. That's where Interlogistics plays a biggest role. The scalability, and it's flexibility. What are the different kind of products you can handle on the conveyor and that automated system? That's very, very important. Interlogistics is very, very flexible. and it's a scalable model. The depends on the the solution what you provide, whether it is a B2C customer or a B2B customer. It depends on that. The solution has to be different. It can't be same for one doesn't fit everything, right? So that's a thing here also. One solution doesn't fit everybody. Actually, the e-commerce players demands are very high. Today's world, if you see, you must have heard, 10 minutes delivery, 20 minutes delivery, 15 minutes delivery. I saw some ads. They're talking about, why do you want to use refrigerator? Throw the refrigerator. You just order it, within 10 minutes, I'll have it delivered. Of course, they are doing it. Whether it is sustainable, there's a customer demand. It is, I don't know whether it is a need or, in my opinion, we are pampering our customers. Why do you want to, block your money or store product? You order on time, I'll get you in 10 minutes. Why do you want to have a refrigerator? Don't even have a refrigerator, right? We are just pampering, but I do not know whether it is sustainable. That's a question mark. Only industry, the market itself will decide what is sustainable in terms of cost. Unless it is cost-wise is sustainable, that cannot exist for a long, right? Of course, Interlogistics will definitely bring efficiency and productivity. Productivity is much higher. When the warehouses become bigger and bigger, for example, now 200,000 square feet will become 2 lakh square feet, will become 5 lakh square feet. The complexity gets increased, and 5 lakh will become 10 lakh. If e-commerce players without a proper interlogistics system, if they have to handle 1 million square feet warehouse, they would need nearly 5,000 people working. It is humanly impossible to manage 5,000 people in a 10 lakh square feet area. You'll see only people there. That's where we need to have a different solution. And it also, if you have a different solution to address address the inefficiencies or the speed, selection, and cost. This is what ultimately customer is looking. I think Interlogistics is the one which is going to definitely help e-commerce industry in developing the solutions. Ultimately, whole supply chain cost. If you look at the supply chain cost, India's 14% of the GDP is spent on supply chain. That means it's a $2 trillion, $3 trillion economy. 14% of this thing, $420 billion is spent on supply chain cost. It's a logistic cost. The government is also very keen to reduce this 14% to 7%. There is a lot of focus. Government is also doing their bit in improving the infrastructure. This is where I spoke about regulatory matters and also infra matters from government also has to do. That it is they are in the process of doing that. Hopefully, in the coming years, we'll have a better and efficient infra road network and processes across, because now GST is in place. States have become borderless, right? And to that extent, the checking of these trucks also can be minimized through different mechanisms. And also I read an article talking about how RTOs and the police when they stop vehicles, how that is getting added to the supply chain cost. So government is looking into everything. I suppose government aim of reducing from 14% to 7% is already in place. They already have a joint secretary in Ministry of Commerce. I think that's much more studies and policies and if you see the road infrastructure itself, road, freight, whatever. What is important for this industry is what is the cost per kilometer is what is very important. Yeah. Unless that efficiency enhances, like for example, if you take a rake, the train, a goods train, it can carry about 2,500 tons at once, one single go. Whereas to move that kind of a load, you would need maybe 150 to 160 different kind of a trucks, right? Whereas one truck can rake can carry that kind of a load. How do you ensure the freight corridors? I think the government is already in the right process of establishing these corridors, freight corridors, and constructing dedicated express highways, and also better roads, better trucks. Hopefully, India will see the better improved logistic cost when we grow $5 trillion in next 5 years. This is what the government is planning. Our economy is going to be around today's 3 trillion will hit 5 trillion. When it hits, I suppose all infra would have come into place. I think we'll realize the benefit, and ultimately end user, which is the customer. Customer is the king. He at least he will get the benefit out of that complete supply chain, because cost is getting reduced, efficiencies are increasing, and the serviceability is becoming better, predictability is becoming better. If the truck is left Chennai, it's 360 kilometers to Bangalore, for example, it is predictable because highways are it is becoming an express highway, plus certified or pre-certified if it's a truck, and you know that it is for sure. Plus it's trackable and traceable. Now the digitization is helping everybody to track and trace where the parcel is lying. Hopefully this industry will get the benefit. I think I have another 4 minutes. Yeah, I think I've come to an end of the presentation. Hopefully I tried to give my perspective, and also what is interlogistics, considering e-commerce as a solution now. It's which is getting developed, and also which is going to grow. We have all the reasons that India will grow further from current level to, in 10 years it is expected to grow 6 times, and industry will also get the benefit out of that. Thank you very much, Abhishek. I think I'm through with the presentation. If there are any questions, and I can it is up to you, Abhishek.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening patiently. Thank you.
So, Mr. Raju, let me first say that this has really been one of the most enlightening sessions, where not only some statistics have been shared, but also the experience that comes with you was something that gave us a lot of insight on how intralogistics is such an important part of delivering the rising consumer expectations in e-commerce industry. So we have got few questions from audience, but before I go for audience questions, I had one question for you. Like we spoke about that e-commerce and modern trade right now is only 10% of the overall potential that we have in the retail industry, right?
Correct.
And even today, I think there's a lot of stretch on the supply chain to meet these consumer demands. So I just wanted to understand, is there enough flexibility and scalability available in the current infrastructure to handle this e-commerce intralogistics when it goes 6 to 7 times in the next 10 years, as you rightly said? And where do you see those cues coming in that yes, that flexibility and scalability is available in our current infrastructure?
Yeah, if you ask me today, it is not there to what is required. That's where a lot of things are happening. Even the interlogistics service provider, if you look at the equipment supplier for interlogistics, bigger player. When I say, another thing is interlogistics is all about reliability and availability of the equipment. Like it is like people may. I would just want to give a comparison to the car industry. Everybody can produce cars, but how many people can produce Formula One cars is important. That's exactly the thing here. It is what is important in providing solution is how reliable is the service. How how do you ensure availability of the equipment? At least standard also talks about it doesn't demand 100%. It's like 98.5% is what industry norm is. It is not like 100%. Even one of the stringent requirement for example airline for the aircraft is 99.99% only, because there is a 0.01%, 0.01%, there is always reliability question mark is there. Nobody can achieve 100%. To that extent, if you ask me today, are the players who are really provide that kind of a services? Yes, they're at a different level, but there are many more players, overseas players, who are evolved over years in other countries, who have done that, seen that, who have done huge research and development and kept the products ready. They are willing to come and set up their shop in India. That is a trend. From the existing player also, the players well within India, they are also scaling up. They are also enhancing their production capacities, and the quality of engineering is becoming better and better. Definitely, those things will be in place.
Right. So, very interesting, Mr. Hemraju. And like I also heard you talking very, very rightly about the importance of not only flooring but also roofing of a warehouse box. Now, just wanted to understand with your experience, how do you think this awareness is now spread to the industry? Is majority of industry well aware of the importance of these factors, or we still have a struggle and we are still faced with suboptimal warehouse boxes in today's time? What's your view on this?
Yeah, it's a very good question, actually, Abhishek. See, fortunately, we have more organized players in real estate. Now, logistic real estate has attracted a lot of foreign investment. There are good players and there are big players, and since they are more organized, they understand what is required for the industry. Because the people, since I'm also in this field for a very long time, we took a lot of time to understand how to get the right flooring. For some of my projects in 2008, I got flooring experts from UK to do a VNA flooring in India, because nobody was available. Technology was not available. That skill is also not available. The competency was not available. I convinced one of my customers to be hired from those guys from UK, because this all countries already had that technology, but that education is already happened in the last 12 years. I think there's a couple of guys who are really picked up very well and understood. It's available within India now. No need to get anybody from outside. Only thing is, we still have unorganized players, right? The people who earlier, see, the warehousing industry was very attractive for people who had surplus money, whether it's accounted money or unaccounted money. People had, and they used to do whatever they wanted to do, right? They never used to hire consultants. They never used to hire experts. Now they realize that if you don't build the warehouse according to the specification, then their ability to command rental reduces. For example, if there are two warehouses of 2 lakh square feet each, one is A plus category, that commands 22 rupees per square feet. The same size of the building, if the flooring is bad and the roof is not adequately designed, and if it is not a leak-proof roof, industry is not willing to pay 22 rupees for that. They might say, I pay only 17 rupees. But because there are inefficiencies, they are accounting that, because equipment maintenance cost will go up. That's where they're reducing the rental. Now, even the developers have understood, okay, if you don't build a good quality warehouse, I cannot command good price, right? That is the development, Abhishek.
Right. So just one more question related to the infra part of it. You also spoke about the huge complexity in the e-commerce supply chain because of the variety of SKUs which are handled. And parallelly, there is also a thought process of standardization to bring down the overall cost in supply chain. So how do we address these two diverse thought processes? One talking about standardization, other talking about being flexible in handling these complexities.
Yeah, I would say these complexities will definitely exist, but they get addressed. For example, it's a 1 million square feet warehouse. You will have a segregated receiving area. For example, heavier goods will be received at one dock. There we'll have a different kind of interlogistics, equipment, right? Whereas small and medium and light product, they may not need that kind of equipment, right? Solutions are different, but there'll be a segregated receiving areas well within that warehouse itself, because there is no other solution. We need to there, and then also there could be a solution like a flexible solution. The moment you receive a heavier one, heavy goods, then you use this equipment which is it's mobile, which comes and gets docked at a dock and starts receiving. There are many solutions available, but definitely that complexity will continue, because in the same warehouse, how are you going to receive, for example, glass product, crockeries, which are they're very fragile in nature, and you have to handle with care, and you cannot sort them also, right? So it has to manually sorted, and bagging, transportation. That complexity will continue. I think that's how the industry has to address it. That's why it is continue to be complex.
Right. So the next question that we've got is very contemporary in the sense that the pandemic has exposed the businesses to never seen before challenges. For example, acute shortage of skilled labor at a time when the customer requirements are going up. So what are the thoughts on automation in this space? What is the thoughts about bots getting into picking, especially in context of India? What are your thoughts on that?
See, if you talk about today's labor costs, they are not, because ultimately the business is for the, exists because it's not a, NGO, non-profit organization. They have to make profits. If they have to make profits, then investments have to be realized well within at least, depending on the company, 2 to 3 years, and maximum is 4 years, 5 years is what the industry expects to write off this, the investments. Because capital expenditure is going to be very high. Unless you get that kind of a benefit, that still it'll take time in India. Though we are a people surplus country, same thing happened in China. For example, if I have to draw a parallel to China, in 2011, China government, for everybody's surprise, they said any automation equipment, if industry is importing into China, it is duty free. Everyone is shocked. How can they make duty free? Because that means it is going to take away the people's job. But still they made it duty free. Everybody thought China is a surplus people and labor is cheap, and automation is now going to pick up. It went other way around. The same thing is going to happen in India also. Today our wages are at 1,400 rupees to 1,500 rupees, 450 to 500 rupees per person per day. That is, once that goes up, then to what we need to see at what level. Government of India also as already amended and Wages Act for the revision. They are already going to revise it. It is already approved by Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, and it is also assented by the President of India, but it is yet to be notified. If that gets notified, the labor costs are going to go up substantially. If that becomes a reality, which is anyway maybe getting delayed, but it's definitely will be a reality in a few years to come or few months to come. Then the ROI, instead of 5 years, you might start realizing in 3 years. Then everybody will jump. Wow, good, I need to do it. Okay? That's where automation and mechanization will come into picture. See, the automation and mechanization is not only to address ROI. This is a problem which you can see, if you see my screen, it addresses many issues in the supply chain. It is not only the investments, higher the investments, but the benefits are different, because depending on the industry, I think one has to adopt, what technology has to be adopted, what they want to automate, what they are still be okay. When it comes to that level, I think people have to, industry has to adopt automation, and there is no other go.
Right. I just had a follow-through question to this very elaborate and perfect answer that you gave. When we talk about scaling up, manual goes to mechanization and mechanization goes to automation. So is there a case for a manual being taken up by automation while eliminating mechanization in between and a fast track? And India is known to adopt digital technologies much faster than other parts of the world. So do you think that trend is going to catch up?
It depends on the industry to industry. It is again, ultimately everything boils down to cost and benefits. This is the cost I'm going to invest. What are the benefit I'm going to derive out of it? Whether I'm making profit, if the company is making adequate profit, they can write off those the investment faster. If they are already not making profit, what are they going to do with this depreciation, right? It's the companies think twice. But adoption of technology is going to be fast in India. There is no doubt about it. I know you and me have seen, though the short span, I can compare, about 20 years ago, we had pages. When 97, 98, I think the pages were introduced, right? Mm-hmm. Initially, there's a numerical pages. Within 1 year, it becomes alphanumeric pages. Mm-hmm. Just before that, that technology got wiped out, and mobile phones came into picture, right? Though mobile phone size-wise, they were so big and with big antenna, but we adopted that, the transition was very, very fast. Today's world of globalization, I think India is going to adopt all the technologies much, much faster than anybody else, not only for ROI basis.
Right. Now, again, the next question is regarding what is happening very recently, quick commerce. What sort of challenges are being faced in this quick commerce, and how are e-commerce companies taking care of this, I would say, revolutionary sort of scenario? 10 minutes delivery, 20 minutes delivery, and all that.
I think I just spoke about it. I think, it has just started, by a few players. Of course, if you start pampering, people want it, but is it sustainable? See, in my opinion, this 10 minutes, 15 minutes deliveries and all, I think they are not sustainable because of the cost, and the scalability could be an issue. See, they will also face competition from Kirana stores. Just watch now, each Kirana store will become an e-commerce player. Shortly, that's called smart commerce, which is going to kick off. All those guys will become a marketplace. They can also sell their products in the, through this e-commerce players, and also they can sell through their own, network also. To that extent, there will be too much of competition for this quick commerce guys, whoever is doing that 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes deliveries. In long run, it's not sustainable. The two country like India, I think it is not really sustainable. Of course, there's a big the volume is there, but it is not to the level what is getting hyped up. It is not. I think it will get stabilized somewhere between 1 or 2 hour delivery is okay. The same day kind of a delivery, I think we are used to it because everything is a cost. If you are willing to pay cost, it's possible. Every delivery costs money. The quick commerce, even if order is 10 rupee product, they have to come and deliver it. They can't say no. Early morning, somebody calls up at 7 o'clock. I want half liter of milk. He has to run, and within, of course, it's getting delivered also. They have established that kind of a system in a few cities, and few companies have withdrawn from many cities also now. You must have seen in the newspaper, which is not sustainable.
Right.
That's a calls CFOs will take, I suppose, in the few months to come.
Right. So I understand, and it's very well explained. Now, the next query is regarding, like, there are many e-commerce companies in India, and many of them operating with niche products and all that. So the question is regarding that if mechanization and automation becomes challenging because of the margins available, what sort of efficiencies can be built in manual picking processes so that these companies also can remain sustainable over a period of time, or it's not possible?
No, it is. See, the transition is going to be a little gradual in India because it depends on the type of industry. Because e-commerce is still not grown so much. It's a very nascent stage, right? You saw the 5%
Yes.
of 800 billion is e-commerce, right?
Yeah.
Modern trade put together is 10%. As it grows, I think even this solutioning also different intralogistics solutions also come into play. That's where the gradual shift of technologies will happen because there is a cost attached to it. Because ultimately you have to be profitable. If not today, tomorrow you have to be profitable. If you are able to see at the end of 2 years you are going to be profitable and you want to adopt technology, it helps you to scale up and also meet the customer expectation. I think that's the time companies will start looking into heavy and capex.
Right. And in one of the slides, we spoke about the material flow, U flow, M flow, inverted W flow. Just trying to understand in terms of the query is about how is this flow integrated with different types of SKUs? Is there a particular flow for a particular SKU, or it can be any flow for any type of SKU?
No, it depends on the industry, and also, for example, if I could take an example of e-commerce, I spoke about ultimately e-commerce will have a 1 million square feet warehouses, which is going to be reality even in India also. Just imagine 1 million square feet warehouse. If you have only one receiving area, right? It's such a long building. You can't afford to have only one side of the receiving area. Then you may have to adopt inverted M flow. You receive at 2 locations, you store it inside M flow, basically not inverted M flow. You receive at 2 locations. It could be segregated receiving. It could be edibles here, non-edibles here, left and right, and you store them inside the warehouse, and you pick them and dispatch both of them because both of them will go together in the same truck. So the central inbound area, that's where the M, the center part of M comes into picture. From there it goes on outbound. It depends. And also I have not missed one more flow is the L flow. Currently, some of the e-commerce players are having L flow. The reason is FDI is not allowed in India. I think there is a different entity which handles outbound and inventories are from a marketplace. For statutory region also, L flow they have adopted. Depending on the shape and size of the warehouse, we can adopt these flows. For example, I flow is definitely not suitable for e-commerce players. Yeah, it is mostly for a parcel because I flow is more suitable for a parcel industry, where from one side you receive and you sort it and dispatch from the other side. That is much more, because you're not going to store there, right? And if the building width is not wide enough, then you adopt high flow.
Right.
When you building width goes beyond the threshold, because beyond 65 meters to 140, 150 meters, beyond that, what happens is the regulation, other regulations come into picture. For example, fire safety is becoming a biggest problem in India also, because we don't have a very high-end, highly compliant warehouses in India, right?
Right.
So they may have to have a fire escape tunnels. In case of fire, people should be able to escape. Some companies follow 90 seconds evacuation. Some of them say 5 minutes of evacuation. It depends on the company to company philosophy what they want to adopt. But there is a broader level. There's regulations. There are very stringent regulations on fire safety. That's where the building also aspect issue also very, very important. For example, if it's a completely ASRS building, because there are no people inside, then what is the safety? You don't, maybe the only roof sprinklers are good enough.
Yes. Right. Understood. So we are done with audience questions. I just have one last question from my side. I was a bit curious to understand the future of B2B e-commerce in India, and how will Intralogistics play a role in a B2B e-commerce?
Yeah, B2B e-commerce is going to stay definitely, because I spoke about the Kirana stores going to be coexisting. If you look at today's B2B e-commerce, the the market is around $4 to $5 billion. That's a market. There is a lot of opportunity for current players to grow. Yeah, and it is going to grow. Definitely, it's going to grow.
Okay. So with that, we are at the end of today's very, very enriching session. Before we wind off, we request all the participants to please fill in the feedback form, which will help us to understand your expectations from the program, how you have what sort of inputs you have got from today's session, and please also put across your comments in terms of what sort of topics you would like us to cover in forthcoming sessions, and we would like to make sure that we cover those topics in our forthcoming discussions. So with that, I would like to take this opportunity from me and my entire team to thank Mr. Hemaraju for taking out his valuable time and sharing his deep knowledge in this domain with all of us. And thank you so much. And we look forward to having more such interactions with you, sir, over next sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Yeah.
Very well conducted session. Thank you for your team, backend team, whoever has done. Thank you for all the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you.